I recently got married. The wedding was going perfectly until my husband's best friend, Brenda, arrived with her emotional support goose, Kevin. Now, Kevin has a history of attention-seeking behavior. Last year, he interrupted a funeral by jumping onto a casket, waddling across the body, and flapping his wings while aggressively honking. The funeral director rushed over to remove him. As soon as he picked Kevin up, Kevin started hissing and flailing. Brenda immediately jumped to her feet. "Let him go. You're hurting him." The funeral director, clearly stressed, said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but animals aren't allowed in here." Brenda pulled out a folder of documents. "He's my emotional support animal," the funeral director sighed. "Even if he is, we can't have a goose running around a funeral home." While they were arguing, Kevin released 3 large green tubular poops. The funeral director was so startled that he dropped Kevin directly back onto the casket. The deceased's mother let out a scream so loud that it startled Kevin. Kevin launched himself off the casket and began sprinting around the funeral home, honking, hissing, and flapping his wings. Several elderly relatives started crying. One man dove behind a flower arrangement. The deceased's mother demanded that Brenda leave immediately and accused her of disrespecting a grieving family. Brenda grabbed Kevin by the wing and headed for the exit. Before leaving, she turned around and threatened to sue the funeral home for discrimination under the Americans with Disabilities Act. The craziest part, a few months later she actually filed the lawsuit. One she lost. As part of the ruling, Kevin had to undergo retraining before he could continue working as a service animal. After hearing all that, you'd think nobody would ever invite Kevin anywhere again. Unfortunately, my husband is much nicer than I am. A few months later we started sending wedding invitations. Not long after, Brenda called. She said she had a question about the RSVP. She asked if her +1 could be Kevin. I slowly handed the phone to my husband. He looked at me nervously. I gave him a look that clearly said, "Absolutely not." He answered anyway. Brenda immediately launched into a speech about how she needed Kevin with her at all times. My husband gently reminded her about the funeral incident. Brenda insisted that Kevin had simply been having an off day. "He completed months of retraining," she said. "He's much better now." My husband looked at me. I looked at him. Neither of us knew how to argue with someone who thought a goose interrupting a funeral was just an off day. Eventually my husband gave in. "Okay," he said. When he hung up, he shrugged. Maybe Kevin will behave at the wedding. The day of the wedding finally arrived. Everything was perfect. The venue looked beautiful. The weather was great. The guests were having fun. Most surprisingly, Kevin was behaving himself. For nearly an hour, he sat quietly beside Brenda. I started thinking maybe the retraining had actually worked. My 6-year-old nephew stepped forward carrying the ring pillow. At that exact moment, Kevin slipped out of Brenda's grip and waddled into the aisle. Several guests laughed. They thought it was cute.